of the issue is that we're not taking used books in right now, so we're not getting the old ones.
This country, I would say, is built on small business, and a lot of times that gets forgotten.
Do you have the dark half?
The what?
The dark half? This one.
It's a Stephen King book.
We're the only bookstore south of Hyde Park. People think that that Chicago ends in Hyde Park, and the Homewood store. Before I opened that store, this Chicago store was the closest bookstore to them. Business even before COVID would have been could have been better.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, it's a difficult industry right now with a lot of competition from online sales, and so that's always an issue. So things were not fantastic before COVID, but we were moving along.
And what's business been like pre-COVID?
Pre-COVID, it's been really good. We do a lot of corporate gifts, baskets, and we're very lucky. We're in a couple of local businesses like Calabria and the Blossom Boys, Town Liquor carry our products, so it's been pretty good pre-COVID. Jack, I saw your note from the caramel apples. Yes. I would consider those boxes individually wrapped already, wouldn't you?
Well, yes, but I didn't know, like, for large events, sometimes, like a tray of apples as opposed to, the tray is one price, but then if you're individually bagging,
It's all the same.
I
I
just-
just do it for
that's
them.
what I mean.
Yeah.
And Pat was gonna help it all, so. I'm
That's
kidding.
80,
I'm
that's
kidding.
80,
Yeah.
that's 80.
In terms of business, January, February, going into March, it was steady, but it's not our super busy period like the holidays are. So when COVID hit and we had to close the dining and it was takeout only, I wasn't sure what to expect, but obviously, God, am I gonna have to close for 2 weeks? Because it was like, oh yeah, 2 weeks quarantine, but obviously it turned into 7 months.
It was awful. It was really, really awful. Chocolate in itself has a very low profit margin, which is kind of why we do help other people out just to bring more people in the door. We're probably running at about 40% of sales as we were pre-COVID.
It was really good for about 6 weeks. It was constantly busy. Just everyone coming out to support, and like of course pizza, like I said, is very, very hot commodity during the time.
COVID has exacerbated the situation for sure. So things weren't great, but they were okay. And then COVID hit. I had to close down. I continued to stay open because I considered myself to be kind of important. Kids needed school books to do their online learning. So I thought I was a pretty important business. I stayed open doing curbside pickup and online orders pretty much through March and April and May and June, and did about, I would estimate about 20% of normal business for at least 4 months. So it was pretty bad for a while and quite scary. At certain points I've had up to 15 employees. Sometimes I think once I even had 16 at one point between 2 stores. But right now I only have 5 total, and for a little while when I first closed down, I didn't ask my employees to come in, and yet those who needed it, I still continued to pay them through sick hours, and as much as I could, I continued to do so. But it was literally for probably a month, just me going back and forth between the 2 stores, trying to organize things?
Luckily, it's been fine. It's nice that we're in this neighborhood who's very supportive in every sense of the small businesses around here.
Have you guys needed like government assistance?
We've needed it, but we haven't. We started to apply for it when it first came out, but the way our business is run as a mom and pop shop, we're not eligible for the grants and loans. So that's kind of been a catch-22 too, but we're not hurting anyone but ourselves. So.
I did not get anything from the first round. And then I did finally I believe it was toward the end of May, I finally got a small amount of financing through PPP, but of course that's a loan. I already had loans. I didn't need more loans. I just needed some help through this. So I did get some PPP funds, but there needed to be another round because that money is gone. Like I said before, I continued to pay my employees, and that was actually the worst decision I could have made because I was allowed to get reimbursed for paychecks, the Paycheck Protection Program, but only once the funds hit. So all of the money that I spent keeping food on my employees' tables was just gone, and I didn't get reimbursed or anything. None of that was forgivable, and I thought that was kind of a travesty. So it was a very small amount of money, and it went very quickly because rent kept going. I had a lot of bills that I had to pay. I have loans that I had to pay off. I was cut off from a couple vendors twice, so I couldn't even get books for a little while, just because I was a certain number of days behind in payment. And so, yeah, so too little too late. I wouldn't say too little too late, but there needs to be more.
We're actually still thinking about closing at the end of the year. We were pretty sure that was going to happen, but now with this Kathy who's come and started working with us, the hope is that maybe she has enough interest and is getting vested enough to maybe take over the business.
The next time I'm in the situation where I may need to close, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just gonna close because I can't do it on a personal level anymore, and so I hope I can get support.
It really has been a little bit strange as far as just closing your eyes and ignoring the fact that you might be falling behind on some stuff, but at the same time realizing that you're not the only one struggling.